When I first moved to New York, I was very excited to have my own space to mix and record. However, I soon realized the room was less than ideal. The reflections caused by the vinyl tile flooring made the space sound very similar to a large bathroom. Furthermore, the building's water pipes run horizontally along the ceiling, causing diffraction of low frequencies and doubling the amount of corners that needed some type of treatment. The first step was to enter my room dimensions into a room mode calculator. With rounding, the room has a length of 790 centimeters, a width of 320 centimeters, and a height of 244 centimeters. I identified some axial problem frequencies in the sub-bass region. Furthermore, the 200 Hz region seemed to be the worst, with many tangential and oblique modes occurring in the 200 to 300 Hz range. However, I was fully aware that this calculation was not taking into account the many materials in the room and the unique nature of the ceiling. I identified the tones I disliked perceptually by playing them back into the room. 60 and 100 Hz sounded particularly muddy, with the 200 Hz region not being as bad as I had thought. It was clear that I needed bass traps the most, which was quite worrying since the materials I own are more suited to capturing specular frequencies. Before I pondered the bass trap problem, I needed to rearrange the materials I already had. After clearing out the room, I captured its impulse response. Keep in mind, I was unable to move the Rhodes and the futon, which both have a tremendous effect on decreasing the reverberation time of the space. I used an omnidirectional microphone and captured from 4 locations: the back of the room, the middle of the room, the mix position, and the vocal booth, which I was planning on gearing towards ADR recording. At the back of the room, the RT30 from 25 to 40 Hz was in the high 0.5 range, with the frequencies between 50 and 400 Hz lying in the mid to high 0.4 range. The RT30 of specular frequencies were mostly within the mid 0.4 range, beginning to taper off into the high 0.3 range as the frequencies passed the 8K region. The mix position shows similar results to the back of the room: a high RT30 for sub-bass frequencies, and a mid to low 0.4 range for frequencies past 100. The specular frequencies here lay mostly within the low 0.4 range. The impulse response of the vocal booth yielded a larger reverberation time for the sub-bass frequencies, and frequencies past 80 Hz were in the mid to high 0.4 range. This is unsurprising, as the vocal booth is positioned directly underneath a corner. Absorption treatment would be very important here, as the RT30 of specular frequencies within the vocal booth was also quite high. Next, I decided to place the mass-loaded vinyl sheets on the ground and take an impulse response of the room. This particular material is designed to keep sound out and is not geared towards sound absorption. However, in the middle of the room, it lowered the RT30 of the 25 Hz band significantly and erased about 0.02 to 0.03 off the RT30. Next, I placed 4 carpets and 2 thin bamboo rugs over the vinyl sheets. I used a thicker carpet for the vocal booth, as I was trying to make this the most dead spot in the room. I anticipated much more absorption from the carpets, and I knew that by placing them over the vinyl mats, I was increasing the amount of absorption. My results were promising. I was able to reduce the RT30 of the specular frequencies by an additional 0.02. The most significant effect was achieved after placing the foam panels. I placed 4 on the vocal booth wall lining up with the reflection points, 1 foam panel behind each speaker, and 4 on the left wall, also lining up with the reflection points. The idea in the vocal booth was that when somebody stood facing the microphone, reflections would be partially absorbed by their body and the panels behind them. I also placed 2 panels on the ceiling, 1 above the vocal booth and 1 above the mixing position. At the back of the room, the average RT30 was now 0.35. Compared to the results when no materials were in the room, it seems my treatment has had a significant effect on reducing the specular frequencies. In the mixing position, many of the values were at 0.35 and above, but with the wedges added, many of the frequencies are now at 0.35 and below. As expected, my treatment was having little to no effect on everything below 500 Hz, except for a minor effect on frequencies between 25 and 40 Hz. Pondering my idea of making bass traps, I remembered that I had seen a large amount of acoustical foam in the boiler room of my building.
Seems legit.
I set about making 8 bass traps, as I knew bass frequencies would accumulate in the many corners of my room. I measured the corners, looked up the absorption coefficients of the material online, taped the foam to pieces of cardboard, and placed them, making sure to leave a space between the walls so as to absorb the lower frequencies. I left large gaps on the sides, as I knew I could always insert more foam if they weren't achieving the effects that I wanted. With everything in place, I took the room measurements. The results from the vocal booth were very interesting. 32 and 40 Hz decreased by 0.12 and 0.21, but frequencies between 63 and 100 Hz increased. The RT30s of everything above 200 Hz began to decrease by 0.2 and more as the frequency increased. From the vocal booth position, the trap seemed to be having more an effect as the frequencies crossed over into the specular realm. The results in the middle of the room were similar and even a little bit better. This is the middle of the room with no materials. The traps had a large effect on decreasing the RT30 of the sub-bass frequencies, increasing the RT30 of 50 and 63 Hz, and decreasing the RT30 of everything past 100 Hz up to 0.04. In the mixing position, the bass traps also had an effect on the specular frequencies up to 0.02. In the mixing position, the bass traps greatly eliminated room boom. The RT30 of 50 to 100 Hz increased, and the RT30 of everything past 200 Hz began to increase past 0.02 as frequency also increased. So where did my patent-pending bass trap design go wrong? Why were frequencies between 50 and 100 Hz being boosted? I believe the answer is in the cardboard, which I did not cover with additional foam for aesthetic purposes. With a low absorption coefficient, I believe the cardboard is reflecting back between the 50 and 100 Hz range, which accounts for the dramatic boost. I believe that not only more foam needs to be added to the inside of the bass trap, but the same amount needs to be added on the outside so as to negate any reflections from the cardboard. I detailed this redesign in my corresponding paper. Thanks for watching.